back.
Yeah, we're back. In a place where we belong. You just, no back up there. No back.
Sorry.
It's okay. That's why I brought Pinocchio.
He'll never lie to you.
Nope. Okay, what are we doing now?
Anywho, we got a nice question from Toby over here. That is, if you're allowed to tell us, would there be any chance for a 16 reboot or revival?
A, I don't know. I don't know. I know this PSA, you know, was put out because of a pretty important election, you know, in the States. And, you know, just because we live in Canada doesn't mean that we're not, you know, affected by U.S. politics. And I remember seeing a map of the millennial vote. If they had voted, there was only 4 states that were red. The rest were blue. So this is the thing. They're trying to, you know, engage the young votership. Because that's a voice. You know, and as a voice actor and as somebody who is teaching people how to find their voice, like a vote is a voice. And I mean, I'd love it. Everyone would love it. Clearly, this video has gone viral. Millions and millions and millions of views. And even the people that are sharing it from all walks of the political landscape, but mostly the fans. Whether they were 16 fans or not, it did something. And I think out of it, you know, I don't think the intention was or is to set out to do a reunion, but I mean, there's always been sniffs about this show. Like, I wish this show was back, and God, that was a good show, and it was timeless, and you know, it still resonates today. But they wouldn't tell me, especially me, you know, because I am very engaged with the fanship and, you know, at conventions and stuff like that. But I, you know.
I guess to slightly reword it then, would you want there to be?
Absolutely. Like I said, man, I mean, if to get a chance to do it again, but this is the one thing that I do know. You can never go back, right? That was a different time. I was a different person. Like, I remember going to the first recording of or 16, sorry, and finding out that I was going to be a father, right? So my whole world was just starting, and the voyage I've been on, like 16 years later, right? 16 years later. I'm a different person. Sure, I could still do the character Jude, and yeah, when we did the PSA, when we did this thing, man, it was nice to be back, and we all just picked it up like that, and it'd be like, yeah, it would be good. But how would we do it? That's the other thing. If it did come back, how would it be done?
Yeah, like it'd be completely different
from
how it was before.
Yeah, but you couldn't, you know, if you made them older, if you made them, let's say 18, if you put them in their 20s, if you put them in their 30s, if you tried to make it, well, then the artwork would change, because these were 16-year-old characters. Mind you, they were played by 30 and 40-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
But how would you do that? And also, the times have changed. I mean, this is why one of the reasons 16 sort of aired or stopped airing, you know, in reruns and stuff, was because of the flip phone. Because you noticed in the show, they were all flip phone. Well, 2010, that was pretty much like when the show ended, that was the end of flip phones, right? Everyone had these guys. Smartphones. So I don't know. And also, it was a different time. It was a different era. Because those people that were 16, they're now 30. They're in their early 30s. So do you make it for those people, or do you make it for younger people? Like, I don't know. That's the thing. And it's not my show. It's funny because fans think that, like, I go home. It still blows my mind. They get comments like, how come you did this to that? Like, why would you do that, Christian? And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't go home and animate, voice, and then broadcast the show. I have little say. I show up. It's a lot of moving parts when you make a cartoon. And it depends, too, like, where they put it on, like, what network they go with. Or do they go with somebody like Netflix, say? Or do they just put it up on the internet? You know what I mean? Does it just live on its own somewhere else? It's I don't know. I would love for it to come back, but how it came back would be very, very interesting because everything has changed. Everything has changed. So it would be interesting. It would be interesting. And that's what I think makes 16 such a I mean, there's a difference between watching like the Flintstones and watching 16. Like, one's very dated. And sometimes when you watch 16, it is dated, but it's not, because the stories are still exactly the same. But there's a lot of terminology. Like, how would you address texting? Because back then with the flip phones, you didn't text. You had to call, right? We all text now. So our whole language has changed.
I feel like Caitlin would have a lot of fun with it.
Caitlin would have a lot of fun. There should probably be a character that just texts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, I would love for the show to come back, but then again, what about these new kids? You know, what about the new 15, 16, 12-year-olds that watch it? Because, see, back then, like I said, it would be different because the formats for commercials have changed. I mean, for cartoons have changed. It used to be 22 minutes, right? It's not that way anymore. Cartoons are now 11 minutes long. There's an A and the B, right? The seasons have shortened. Everything is shortened. Everything's gotten quicker and faster. So I don't know if it would translate, because this was the last time appointment television would happen. And it was something interesting that happened with 16. So, I mean, it was originally geared for university crowd. 16 was for like a university crowd. But then when it came on, well, 12 and 14 and 15-year-olds were watching it. And then, of course, younger brothers and sisters were watching it. And then parents were watching it because the little kids were watching it. And parents, as a parent myself, I always watched what my young daughter was watching, even though, I mean, my poor daughter, she was like 3. She grew up watching Total Drama, 16, Family Guy. I regret that one. I remember one time watching Family Guy with my daughter going, no. She was watching the baby. She was just glued to what Stewie was saying. I was like, no. So I pulled it off. But the demographic, usually, it's shifted so much that our true demographic was 7 to 70. Because you had grandparents watching it with young children looking after them, you know, and so that was our demographic. That's a huge demographic. It was a phenomenon. So to say, like, if it came back, would we ever have that magic again? Don't know. But I would love for it to come back, but I would also hate for it to come back and be like a swing and a miss, you know. That's why sometimes it's better just to let it be forever that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer that?
I think so.
Okay.
Although I guess that'd be up to Toby to decide if it was a good answer or not.
Yeah, bring it, Toby. You got something to say about it? Toby? You friends with James? Is that what's up?
And then we got one more, like, very recent one right on the Facebook. So this is a bit more like he also has something to say to you as well here. So I'm going to more or less paraphrase Vanille. I hope I pronounced it right. I'm a huge fan of 16. The show is everything and represents Canadian diversity and broke barriers. My question I want to ask is, were you guys involved in creating the storylines for the show? Thanks and keep on rocking.
Right on, man. Let's finish strong. Now, that's a question. You should phone James and figure out, get on that. I personally wasn't, but Terry McGurran, who plays Jonesy, he was. Because he ended up writing on the show. And so what happens when they come up with a season of the show, they'll have a writing summit. And it's discussed from the creators to the, and then broken down. They create their writing room, as it were. And then they have a summit. And they discuss the whole season based on the Bible. When you create a show, you create a Bible. That's what it's called. And you stick to that Bible. Because if you deviate from it at one point, then it all falls apart. You have to stick to it. So they created a season that would show arcing and then individual, episodes that strung together or not, and then some specials. But I didn't have any part in that. I just really, I liked my position in that show because I got to show up, and Jude was always on a different plane, so it didn't matter what was. I just got to be funny, and I got to be me, and I got to be real. You know what I mean? And Jude had his own sort of storylines. He was kind of, you know what? I always thought Jude would get a spin-off, but better yet, he comes back as a little kid. So what's up?
Oh yeah.
Hey, who knows? Who knows? Maybe the show's not going to get reunited. We may not get another season, but maybe Jude will get his own spin-off. Who knows? Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that question and nice words. And I believe that's all we got for today.
Right on. Right on. That was kind of like an emotional experience because I haven't talked about 16. I haven't done an interview or anything about 16 in 8 years. 8 years since I have talked about 16. So that was nice. It was a nice trip down memory lane, man. Cool. Top. Right on.
Yeah, we're glad we could have you here on the game wheel, and we're also glad that you could have us here at the Infinity Forge.
Yeah. In a place where we belong. All right, we're done. Nice.
All right, see you guys next time.